Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I'm coming back with another build video. I finally done it. I finally got all the pieces and put together my NinjaBike hazard protection build in the way that I wanted to. Hazard is one of the stats that actually synergizes really well with the NinjaBike because it's one of those secondary attributes that you can bake into a lot of the free brand bonus and gear set bonuses that you're unlocking. It really works well into how you can put together a build and still gain a lot of additional bonuses via the NinjaBike. And so you're going to see in this that what I put together is a really strong contender. It's got a lot of damage. It's got, of course, fully immune resistance to a lot of the very potent statuses and other effects that are in PvP in the DZ. Overall, I'm really happy with how this turned out, so let's just get right into it. Alright, so here we are with the build. Usually I show gameplay first in the majority of my build videos, but since with a hazard build in particular, it's kind of more important to show off the feats and mechanics of it rather than the heights you're reaching in gameplay. I wanted to show off the build first, but there will be gameplay later on after the breakdown that you can go and check out. Additionally, before I kind of get into the individual piece breakdown, I just want to give you an overview of some of the main achievements that this build is unlocking, because I think that kind of highlights why it's so strong. And what I was really striving for here is to not only be 100% immune to the very important statuses that you need to be in PvP, but also have a lot of damage to be able to compete, right? I didn't want a build that was just slapping them with nothing while I was taking all that damage, because the point is that you want to actually be able to survive and still deal damage, and that's what I think I've achieved with this setup. So let's take a look at some of the defensive things first. If we go over to the stats and go down to this section, you'll see we're reaching 1.64 million armor while still having basically 3 red cores, so that's not bad at all. And so for the immunity part, we have 80% base hazard protection. This means that on anything that I'm not further speccing into, you'll see right here I have 80% on all of that, which is quite a lot, and you're going to be mitigating the vast majority of the damage and duration of any statuses that you're applied to. I'm choosing to spec fully into 100% bleed to cap off that amount. I am only at 80% burn, which you can obviously switch those at any point you want. The only way I'm reaching 100% bleed is from 2 different mods, and so those are completely interchangeable to whatever resistance you would rather have. The reason I chose bleed is because that fully mitigates builds that use ridgeways, builds that use anything else to apply a bleed ongoing directive, stuff like that. There are a lot less builds that use burn as a way to unlock further damage, rather they just use burn to deal a bunch of damage with things like the fire sticky and the chem launcher and all of that. So with the bleed resistance, I'm fully mitigating any of those damage builds that use bleed to further unlock more damage, and then I also still have a lot of protection against stuff like burn and other actual dedicated status builds. But as I said, that is fully interchangeable, and you will see that when we go back to the pieces in a moment. I also have 100% pulse resistance. Obviously mine is at 99.3. That's only because I don't actually have a 10% pulse resistance mod, but if you did, you would be at 100%, and I think at 99.3, if you are affected by a pulse, it's for like half a second, so it's really nothing at all. Once you get to that 100% value, of course, you will be fully immune, and so like I said, being able to mitigate the vast majority of fire statuses from those types of builds, being able to be fully immune from ridgeway builds and fully immune from pulse builds while still being able to put out a lot of damage, it's really nice. Let's then take a look at some of the armor, or I should say rather weapon damage focused attributes on this build. I'm getting, despite all of that stuff, I'm still getting 40% amplified damage, and we'll go over that in a second. The crit is where it's lacking a little bit. Obviously you have to make some sacrifices somewhere, and that's where it happens on this build. However, with the amount of base damage that you still unlock, this build can still deal out a lot of damage, and you'll see that in the gameplay in a little bit. Alright, so let's go back to the actual pieces and break it down. Starting with my primary, I'm using the Kingbreaker Assault Rifle. Now, I'm speccing into pulse stuff to deal my damage with this build, despite being immune to it. Dishing it back out is a lot of fun. So, of course, this comes with AR damage. I have damage to targets out of cover, and Perfect Flatline, which is amplified 20% damage to pulsed enemies. That's where we're getting 20% of that 40 total amplified damage. So, obviously, that's going to be doing a lot. And if you're going to use an AR, the Kingbreaker just makes sense because you get the perfect version of it. And on here, I just have 2 crit chance mods, plus they link the laser pointer to pulse enemies, and of course you need the technician specialization to unlock this, but we'll get to my reasoning behind that spec further in a little bit. Secondary and pistol are totally up to you. Really, I don't really use this at all, but whatever you want there. And then I have the B, even though it's been nerfed, you know, really whatever you want there, doesn't matter whatsoever. Moving on to the gear pieces, we first have one piece of Walker and Harris. With the NinjaBike, we are getting the 5% weapon damage and the 5% damage to armor bonuses from the brand unlocks, which is super potent for damage builds. If you're just using one piece of something, from my testing, one piece of Walker and Harris gives you the most actual damage compared to even like one piece of Heartbreaker, because you're getting that amplified bonus from the damage to armor, and you're able to get the 2 attributes. It's just really strong, so that's why I have it here, because I had one free slot that I could put into some type of additional damage bonus, and so I went with Walker. Also, this is the only piece that is not yet fully perfect. As you can see down there, I have weapon handling instead of a crit roll, which is what I would definitely prefer. However, I have the two really important stats, which is the maxed out hazard protection and the armor, so it's fully fine to use this until I get one of those crit ones. But on here, as you can see, armor, weapon handling, which again would prefer to be crit, hazard protection, and the pulse resistance mod. Again, as long as you have one of those, that's like above 9%, you're going to be pretty much fully immune from it as long as you copy the rest of the hazard stuff that I have on this build, so that's going to be really nice. Moving on, we then have the chest piece, which is one piece of Seska, which is getting me from the NinjaBike, again, 10% crit chance and the 10% hazard protection. Seska is a super nice choice for hazard builds because you get both of those really relevant bonuses. On here, I have weapon damage, crit damage, hazard protection, and bleed resistance mod with the spotter talent. This is where I'm getting even more amplified damage. Obviously pairs really well with flatline, and an additional 15% amplified damage. So that's how I'm getting the 40 total, right? 20 from flatline, 15 from spotter, and the 5% damage to armor from the walker mask gives me 40% total amplified damage while I'm having all this immunity. It's really strong, and as you'll see in the gameplay, still deals a lot of damage. And on this piece, I do have a weapon damage core attribute. It's totally up to you how many reds and blues you want to go for. I ended up going with 5 and 1 as far as the main like core rolls. Obviously, you're getting all of them from the NinjaBike, and there's a lot of different bonuses that come into play here, but having 5 blues is certainly a choice. On my end, you could go with 6 blues, you could go with 4. It's totally up to you, however you like your distribution to be. I've just kind of liked where this has landed. Moving on, we then have the Picaro's holster, which is an interesting pick, but I think you'll see kind of the relevancy of it when I get into this here. So from the brain bonus, we're of course getting the skill haste, which is less important, but the skill tier, the free skill tier from the NinjaBike is really why this is so strong, and we'll talk about that in a second. On here, I have armor, hazard protection, and 15% weapon damage. I will say that if you want to get the same amount of hazard that I have on this build, you do need to have it rolled on every piece except obviously the NinjaBike, because you can't roll any regular attributes on there. So I have hazard on everything, and that's how you're going to be able to unlock that fully 80% value so you can get the rest of the way with mods. But I'll tell you why, another reason why this build works so well together is I'm getting a free skill tier from Picaro's, I'm getting one from the NinjaBike, and you get that free one from running the Technician, which of course I'm using to get the laser pointer to unlock all those pulse bonuses. But by having 3 skill tiers, I'm able to run the jammer pulse, and it means that I don't have to worry about the change that was implemented in Season 11, which made it so that you can only jam things that are 3 tiers and below. Right? Because if I was running a tier 0 jammer, for example, anyone who has a tier 6 skill would just be unaffected by my jammer in PvP. It has to be within 3. So because it is at 3, mine is, it means that anything, even if people are running tier 6 skills, I can still jam them. This is really great for stuff that you're not immune to on this build, like mortar turrets, right? You don't have any explosive resistance on this build, but with the jammer, someone puts that down, you just pop that out, and it can get rid of any mortar turret or any other stationary skill, regardless of what skill tier they are at. So just another way in which this build synergizes really well. For the backpack, I am of course using the NinjaBike, which is how we're unlocking so many of these secondary attributes and bonuses. Obviously all 3 skill tiers on there, and another bleed resistance mod. That's how I'm getting that 100% value from 2 of those mods. But again, if you'd rather be fully immune to burn, whatever you want to be immune to, swap those mods out as you like. For the gloves, we have the first of our 2 pieces of Yawl, which in total from the brand bonuses in NinjaBike is getting me hazard, weapon damage, and pulse resistance, and that's how we're getting that 100% pulse resistance value. You get 50% from the specialization tree, 40% here, and 10% mod. Voila, you're at 100. On here, armor, hazard protection, and crit damage, same as all the rest. And on the knee pads, we have the exact same deal. Again, another Yawl with armor, crit damage, and hazard protection. Moving on to the skills, we already talked about the jammer pulse, but again, tier 3 lets me take out any additional skills that I might not be immune to, so it's really nice there. And then I have a defender drone. Because you are at tier 3, this is a really nice option. You can see that at tier 3 with the PvP damage reduction value, I'm deflecting 20% of incoming damage, which is just another way to obviously mitigate more damage that's coming at you. All those statuses and stuff, you can also just mitigate regular bullets with this, so it's a really nice pick as far as that's concerned. And then for the specialization, we've already talked about it a lot, but we have the Technician. This is how I'm unlocking those pulse bonuses to get the laser on my gun, meaning I don't have to actually run a pulse and worry about pulsing targets. I can just aim at them, and it does that for me. I also get the free skill tier, which is how I get the jammer to tier 3, so it just works in really well with the rest of the build. And overall, this all came together super nice, and I'm really, really liking it. Alright everybody, and that is the build breakdown. I hope you all enjoyed. I've been having a ton of fun with this build, and it's super strong in PvP. As I said, I wanted to take the time to get the right pieces for this, make sure it all worked well together, and I've been really happy with the result. Fully immune from those statuses that you need to be, you have a ton of mitigation from those ones that you aren't fully immune to, and you still have a lot of damage to be able to put out. That was the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure I was still achieving, because I see a lot of hazard builds go out where the damage really just isn't up to snuff, and on this you can still dish that out, so it's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it. If the video was helpful, a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to click that subscribe button as well as turning on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future builds and uploads. I'm going to let some of the gameplay play after this, so I hope you enjoy, and let me know your thoughts on the build down below. Anything you would change to it, anything you didn't think about before, anything like that, let me know all of your thoughts, and I would be super curious to read them. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Ow.
Rogue explosive seeker mine detected. Hostile explosive seeker mine detected. Immediate medical assistance needed. Hostile Stinger Hive detected. Rogue Defender drone detected. Hostile Defender drone detected.